Hello and welcome to this Wednesday edition of the PipeBomb Wrestling Podcast, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher, and joining me in my house, on my right-hand side, is the young buck, ladies and gentlemen, Andy York. What's up, man?
Not much. It's nice to do these in person.
It is.
We did one a couple weeks ago that we were able to be in person, and now it's nice to do it again. So
it is. We need to be able to arrange our schedules to be able to do this.
We do.
We live like 10 minutes apart. It's really sad.
I'm telling you, that studio.
Yes, that's it. It's been a pipe dream for a long time.
Yeah.
It's staying in the pipe, it sounds like, though. Anyway, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time or you've been with us from the beginning, thank you for checking us out. We are available every Monday and Wednesday, brand new episodes on bodyslam.net's YouTube channel, on Sports Wire Radio, or wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us that 5-star review. Make sure you hit the notifications bell on bodyslam.net's YouTube channel. That way you get notified each and every time we upload a new episode or any one of the other great shows that are a part of that network. Make sure you show them some love. I know they would appreciate it. Follow us on social media. We are at PBW Podcast. I can't talk tonight, Andy. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I am at Chris Belcher24. Andy is at Andy_PBWP. It is really weird to be flashing those things up, and we're in the same room. We'll get used to it, though.
Oh, man.
All right, man. We got a loaded show. We got a lot of stuff to get to. I know that our listeners are probably sick and tired of us saying this, but it's December and we're talking about meaningful wrestling.
Yeah. It's been a weird week, I think. And it's been kind of a tough week in some, in some areas with the whole Jeff Hardy thing, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and the unfortunate passing of Jimmy Rave. And then, we both kind of have family that is in Kentucky as well. So during the tornadoes and everything else. So it's kind of been a heavy week, but it's also nice that we can, still talk about things like this, because it's, like you said, it's a lot of meaningful wrestling, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really has. So shout out to those thoughts and prayers who were affected by the tornadoes of Kentucky and of Tennessee, and I'm not sure where they hit everywhere else. But like you said, we both have family in Kentucky. We're both originally from there. So, thoughts and prayers out to all of those victims, as well as thoughts and prayers out to the family of Jimmy Rave. We found out yesterday, as we recorded this on Tuesday, we found out yesterday that he passed away. Very, very sad, man. I've been doing this podcast for almost 4 years now. You've been on board for about almost 3 of them, really. But in that time, we haven't really made a lot of connections in the wrestling business. Let's just be honest. But Jimmy was one of the few that we had made. And man, I didn't, when you texted me that yesterday, I didn't know how to feel, man.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I knew him, but I didn't know him. It was just, man, that 45-minute interview that I had with him, it was just, wow. I was literally numb the rest of the day.
Yeah, it was, it was definitely hard to see that. And also, like, to see the tributes from a lot of people, talking about him, and because he wasn't necessarily one of the most popular wrestlers in the world
or well known,
but he had that great run in TNA for a while. He had done a lot of great stuff in the independent scene, Ring of Honor, and so it was nice to see the tributes to him. And he had a hard life. He lived a hard life, but he inspired people, and he was one of the guys that everybody trusted and loved to work with. And so it's sad that we lost him. Almost a year ago, in a couple weeks, we lost John Huber, we lost Brody Lee, so it's been I
forgot that was around Christmas time.
Yeah, it was the day after Christmas, December 26th. So, it's kind of been a hard month for some things, and, I'm sure the next couple of weeks is going to be hard, but, this was a shock, and it was definitely, like you said, I was numb for the, rest. I wasn't even on the interview. We had just been, me and you had been talking about interviewing him, and I wasn't able to be on the interview, and just, still it was tough to hear that news.
Yep, it really was. So go back in our archives, check out that interview. It was a lot of fun. You could tell Jimmy's passion is in the wrestling business. He just got so excited when we were talking about wrestling. He tells some great stories about AJ Styles, just a lot of the guys that he has worked with that their names. You may not know Jimmy's name, but you know the names of the guys that he's worked with. So please go back and check out that episode. I know we retweeted it. I know Tom from Sports Wire posted it. I know that bodyslam.net posted it as well. So make sure you go find any one of our social medias. You'll find the episode. But for some more uplifting things, CCW, I mentioned last week, I believe, posted an episode of my commentary along with one of their wrestlers, Mr. Jackal Stevens, who is, man, Jackal Stevens is a trip. Let me just tell you. He was my partner on commentary that night. So the two matches they posted last week, it was Christy James and Camille, and then it was the Santiago Street fight between Ariel Levy and Pedro Pablo. Two incredible matches. Pedro Pablo and Ariel Levy was a bloodbath. They used a computer monitor. They used just some crazy stuff.
Like that kind of stuff.
It was insane. It was crazy. So go back and check out CCW Alive Wrestling on YouTube. That was last week. This past Tuesday, as we record this on Tuesday, you'll hear this on Wednesday, they posted another episode that features me on commentary again with Jackal Stevens. That match was with one of their mainstays, Steve Beck. He took on independent legend and trainer Ricky Marvin. So again, that might not be a name that you know about, but look him up. Guys, very, very impressive. Go back and watch that match. The other match that's on this show is from a different Nashville show that I wasn't able to be at. I think the match is Tom Latimer and somebody. It escapes me. But anyway, go back and check it out. Some really good stuff. Jackal and I had a blast on commentary. So make sure you go back and check that out. Okay, enough cheap plugs for me. Let's go.
Mick Foley would be very proud of you.
He would
be very proud.
Right here in Nashville, Tennessee. He would be so proud. All right. AEW. First of all, we apologize that we seem to sort of be not necessarily a whole week behind AEW, but it seems like if you listen to what we talk about past Wednesday, you're really like far behind. So we apologize for that. What we're going to try to do, I'm putting you on the spot here, is Winter is Coming is tonight if you're listening to this on Wednesday. So maybe we might drop some bonus content about covering Winter is Coming. Just that, because it is a big event. Huge match coming at Winter is Coming. So maybe we'll drop some bonus content on that. More on that. Follow social media for that at PBW Podcast. But speaking of that, I'll go ahead and hit you right off, man. Winter is Coming, main event. Hangman Adam Page, Bryan Danielson. What's your gut tell you?
My gut tells me that Page is going to win because of, I don't think it's necessarily be a clean win. Or it might just be a clean win, and that just elevates Page even more, which I would not necessarily hate. I don't think that would be a bad way for that to happen. But I don't know. I don't think it's time to take the belt off of him yet. I think it's still way too soon to take the title off of him. I still think it's way too soon to put the title on Bryan Danielson. So I think this is just kind of another hitch in the road. Maybe I don't know necessarily what Kenny's timetable for returning is. I don't think it's until late January, maybe.
I think they said somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 months when he went out, and he went out the beginning of November. So maybe February, March. Revolution.
February would be the earliest, probably. And Revolution, like you said, in March. So I don't necessarily know what to expect here. My gut is just telling me it's too soon to take the title off Page.
I agree.
And so I think he's going to win some way, somehow. Maybe the Dark Order gets involved, or maybe he just beats him clean, but I'm not entirely sure.
I think it's probably a clean win, and then maybe you have a handshake afterwards and you try to turn Bryan babyface.
Maybe, yeah. Or Page goes to shake his hand and Bryan Danielson just kind of walks off or slaps him or whatever. Yeah. I think you could kind of do that as well.
Well, if you keep Bryan as a heel, let's go down that rabbit hole for a second. This is not on our notes. If you keep Bryan as a heel, though, who does he face? Like, what would be next for a losing Daniel Bryan?
Darby Allin.
Darby? Okay.
Darby would be pretty cool. Orange Cassidy would be pretty cool. Run Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho. Like, I think that would be that could be kind of fun.
Bryan and Christian
would be a lot of fun.
Christian needs something.
Bryan Danielson versus Jungle Boy would be such an underrated match, but it would be such a great match at the same time. I think you could see that. Or, maybe a new member of the roster, like a Johnny Gargano or somebody like that, would be kind of fun for that to kind of happen.
Oh my gosh. I guess we do have to talk about that, don't we? I don't even have it in our notes.
Or a Kyle O'Reilly.
I'm writing it down right now. Yeah.
You know,
okay. I'm writing it down. We're going to talk about it. I apologize for the camera shaking, y'all. We are getting used to this. Anyway. Yeah. So I think it'll be fun either way. There's some heel talent that Bryan could work with. Mm-hmm. There's some babyface talent he could work with. I would like to see Bryan Danielson, whatever he is, against Brian Cage. That dude hasn't had anything in a long time.
Yeah.
But you talk about a big guy that could use a lift and could throw Bryan around. I think that would be really, I mean, I know I pulled that one out of thin air, but that would be really cool.
Kind of another rabbit hole. I think because we talk a lot about guys going from AEW or from WWE to AEW. Mm-hmm. I think the first person that could potentially go from AEW to WWE is Brian Cage.
I agree.
I think Brian Cage, and I think, fingers crossed, we said this about a lot of people, but I think Brian Cage would be a massive star in WWE. He fits the perfect mold of what Vince McMahon is looking for. He is a big, beefy guy that can do some things that he should not be able to do. So I think he might be the first one to go. But yeah, I think Bryan Danielson versus that. I think Bryan Danielson, and we kind of already seen it, but like a well put together feud between Miro and Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. Bryan Danielson versus Luchasaurus would be interesting in some ways for me, I think, as well.
Find a way for him to kind of run, not necessarily run through, but like he's been doing with the Dark Order. Now you do it with Jurassic Express. That would be interesting. Brian Cage, not to go down that rabbit hole, but you imagine Roman Reigns cutting a promo and saying, I've beaten everybody. And then this guy walks in.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Just the prospect of Brian Cage versus Brock Lesnar itself would be
Bobby
amazing.
Lashley.
Bobby Lashley.
Big E.
Man,
Big
honestly,
E.
Braun Breaker. Like, Braun Breaker, because War Games was a couple weeks ago. And Braun Breaker, because I know we talked about NXT 2.0 a lot. Braun Breaker is one of those guys that I understand why they are kind of putting their stock in him.
Sure.
Because he's a Steiner. And Steiners are entertaining at least. But second
and they can wrestle.
And they can wrestle. He's really good in the ring and he looks the part. And so I think he is one of those guys. I think the Roman Reigns says he beats everybody. And I think Braun Breaker is the one that probably answers that and says, you haven't beat me, and pulls out some Steiner math or something. But, which, by the way, did you catch, I think it was this past week, Taz's Steiner math on commentary? Yes. I loved it. That was one of the best AEW commentary moments of all time. And I loved every second of it.
And it didn't involve Jim Ross. Anyway.
Did not.
I went there. Sorry. Thoughts and prayers out to Jim Ross. He is apparently recovering from chemo and doing well and supposed to be back very soon, I think.
Probably January.
I thought I saw somewhere into December, beginning of January, something like that. So probably around the move to TBS, which is coming in January. All right.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Continuing our AEW talk. Man, I was so proud of myself for calling last week on the podcast when I said we're going to Long Island next week. The roles are going to be reversed. MJF's going to be a babyface and Punk's going to be a heel. And it came to be, and it was perfect. Fantastic.
It was perfect. And I love the fact that Punk even knew it. Like, in the modern WWE, which I'm not trying to dog on WWE, it's just kind of the reality of it.
Right.
Modern WWE, they would send someone like Punk in as a babyface and expect him to get the babyface reaction without realizing. Like, they were great at it, during Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. In Canada, Bret was the biggest babyface. In America, he was the biggest heel. Shawn Michaels was the opposite. And so I love the fact that they were like, in Long Island, MJF got the biggest pop out of anybody. Punk got booed like crazy and even went out there and talked trash about the Islanders to get even more heat, which was great. I also loved because it was MJF versus Dante. And MJF won. And after the match, Ricky Starks came out to the ring and was beating up on Dante. And like MJF was teasing like he was going to go make the save. And he even ran in, slid in. They had the face-to-face. And then they both just started beating up on Dante. And I love that. Like, I love the little things like that MJF does.
And then Punk came out for the save and they booed him.
Yeah, and it's fine. Like, it's perfect. And that's exactly how it should have been. And I loved every single second of it.
It's not going to happen in any other arena in the world. Just that one.
No, AEW is coming to Nashville in February. And there's no way I'm booing CM Punk. That's my first time ever seeing. As long as he's there, if he's not there, I may cry. To be quite honest, so Tony Khan, if you're listening, make sure he's at least there to do a promo segment.
I think he's on the poster.
Yeah, but Kenny was on the poster too, and Kenny wasn't there the last time they were in Nashville.
That's true.
So at least make an appearance. But
that's true.
There's no way I'm booing Punk. But it was a great call. And I think that's something that AEW is really good at, is making the right call at the right time in front of the right crowd. And like Punk making his debut in Chicago, don't waste any time right off the gate. With this, I think this is another perfect example of that.
I can get behind that. I understand that. I'm not gonna say they make the right call every time.
What I mean by that though is like the right call in the right city.
Gotcha.
For the right people, like Britt Baker's championship match and Britsburg and all that. Like they're good at playing to the crowd, whether you're a babyface or a heel.
Well, and they have done that since the beginning, because if you look back, the first show of the pandemic, they were supposed to be in Rochester. That was the night Brody Lee debuted. Was supposed to be in Rochester, his hometown. So they've been doing that since the beginning. So I think you're right as far as that goes. So next week, you mentioned it, MJF versus Dante Martin for the Diamond Ring. What do you think is with this back and forth with Dante and Team Taz? And why are they doing that?
I think it's going to be the same thing that happened with, I'm pulling this out from a little while ago, but Cedric Alexander with the Hurt Business. When they were trying to get Cedric and Ricochet in, and they were teaming together to try to go like against Hurt Business, and finally Cedric turned on Ricochet and joined the Hurt Business. That type of thing. I think what might happen here is I think MJF is going to win this thing. I could see Punk costing MJF, but I really think MJF works really well with the ring. And so I think MJF could win this thing. Dante is very distraught after the match of like losing, and then maybe he joins Team Taz. Maybe he joined Team Taz to burn Team Taz from the inside out or whatever, or maybe he just joins it just to join it. But I think that's kind of the direction that we're heading into with that.
Interesting. More back to Team Taz in a minute when we talk about Rampage. Let's finish out talking about Dynamite real quick though. Trent Beretta finally comes back from injury after, man, it's been.
He had a real severe injury. I forget what it was. I think it was
I thought it was a shoulder, but
I thought it was like a lung problem or something.
Maybe it developed from his shoulder to his lung. No, he's been out for a long time, and he finally came back. Listen, y'all, I'm an AEW novice when it comes to a lot of things. So I'm going to ask you, what the heck is the significance of the white van and Sue and all? I need to know.
Sue is Trent's mom.
Legit.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. I believe so.
Okay.
Sue is Trent's mom. And I may be wrong about this, so I'll get blasted on Twitter at it. So you can flash up my handle. You can send it here if I'm wrong.
Right there. At Andy_PWB.
I think this was during the time when the FTR was coming out in their truck.
Okay.
Remember when they make their entrance up to the truck? And I think that Best Friends were in a feud with FTR. And so instead of them driving the truck, Sue was driving Best Friends in her minivan, in her white minivan, to the ring instead of the truck. So I think it was a play off that, and she got over. She's even a part of
crazy.
I forget Chaos in New Japan. She's a part of their faction now. So she's like taken over like the wrestling world in a weird way. But yeah, she's like the thing right now. I think she was even I don't know if you watch BTE at all.
No.
But like during BTE during the pandemic with Brody Lee and Dark Order, which if you have not seen those segments, it'll make you appreciate Brody Lee.
I've seen some of them. Yeah,
he is so funny, and Sue was a part of that. Of like, she got to throw the papers that Brody Lee would throw. She got to throw the papers and like completely messed it up, and made like Brody Lee break, which is like impossible to do. He broke on camera, which was amazing to see. That's but yeah, she's kind of taken over the wrestling world.
Okay, all right. Well, enough said. I get it. Like Jared texted me and he was like, Trent Beretta's back, and Sue brought him to the ring. I'm like, who the heck is Sue? Like, what in the world? Okay, so cool.
Yep.
One more thing. We have beaten this dead horse, really, or beaten this horse. I don't know what I've totally killed the saying. Anyway, not even going to edit that.
You sure you're from Kentucky?
I am. We race horses, not beat them. All right.
That's true.
Anyway, Cody Rhodes challenging Sammy Gavaria for the TNT Championship. I'm excited for that, number one. I think that is somebody that I could see Sammy dropping the title to.
Yeah.
You sound a little hesitant there.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't think Cody needs it. I really don't. I think Sammy's doing some great stuff with it right now.
Oh, I'm not saying take it off, Sammy.
Right, no, I got you. Yeah. Like, if they're going to tell this story of him being the narcissistic guy that doesn't realize who he actually is, winning the title, I think that would be fine. But I don't think he really needs it. I think more than likely Andrade will come out and cost Cody Rhodes. Maybe Chavo comes back and costs Cody Rhodes or something like that. But I don't really know. But I don't think Cody's going to win. I really don't. I don't think it would be perceived very well, and not even like actual heel heat, because there's a difference in actual heel heat and like go away heat. And I think Cody's like on the verge of having both right now. So I don't think it would end very well with Cody Cody winning the TNT Championship.
Would he be the first 2-time champ? Yes. Brody was a 2-time champ, right? He's just one.
There's just one. Yep. So it'd be Cody.
He would be. He's already a 2-time champ, isn't he? He was the first TNT champ. Lost it to Brody. Won it back.
No, he didn't win it back from Brody.
Who beat Brody?
Nobody beat Brody.
They retired it.
They made -1 like TNT champion for life. And then they brought back the title, and
they didn't have a tournament, did they?
Who won it? It wasn't. I'll look it up, but it wasn't Cody. There's somebody else.
It was Darby.
Yeah, Darby won it, and then Darby lost it to Miro.
Yes,
and Miro lost it to Sammy.
Who did Darby beat though? What was this? I don't remember what the situation was. I mean, I know Brody, but I don't remember like how it. Anyway,
I'll look it up real quick.
So anyway, Cody would be the first 2-time TNT champion. Again, not something that AEW does very often. So you're probably right. It's probably not going to happen.
No, he did have 2 reigns
already.
Cody has 2 reigns.
So Cody did beat Brody.
Cody won it at Double or Nothing. Brody Lee won it, retired it. Then Cody won it. Then Darby won it. Then Miro won it.
I thought Darby beat Cody.
So Cody has held it twice.
Okay, that's what I thought. So he is the only 2-time champion. Could be a 3-time champion. Okay, gotcha. So the point that I was going to make was he teased going back through the heel tunnel.
Yeah.
Which was really funny.
Yeah.
So like you said, it could be this thing of, he doesn't know who he is or what have you. I don't know. Yep. The only thing that we're going to cover from Rampage this week is very significant, and I have a bone to pick about it. And it's the debut of Hook.
Yeah.
You were I haven't watched the whole match. You were very impressed. He was very good, right?
Yep. Very, very, very talented. Everything was, you know how some people in their first match, it's very like clunky and everything.
Sure.
He was smooth. Very smooth. Obviously, the opponent he was with, Fuego del Sol, was a perfect fit for to bump and everything like that. But yeah, I was very, very impressed with it.
A lot of people online were impressed as well. So much so that in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, someone posted, I kid you not, posted and said, Hook is better than anybody that has ever come out of the WWE Performance Center. And my first initial thought was, Hook is better than Charlotte Flair? Really?
Oh, yeah, because she was like a homegrown. Because I was trying to think because some people went through the Performance Center that weren't, like Adam Cole went through the Performance Center and didn't wrestle. Like he wrestled
even Sasha Banks wrestled independent.
Yeah, Bayley did too.
Yeah.
Becky did too. Charlotte. I'm trying to think who else would, like Roman.
Braun Strowman.
I think Hook's better than Strowman.
Roman Reigns, yeah. Roman Reigns is homegrown.
Yeah. Who else? Mojo.
Tweet at Matt Cardona and see what he thinks about Mojo. But seriously,
I don't think he's the best performer to come through. He may, like 5 years from now, we may say he is the best coming through. But I think first appearances, I would say,
but
so.
But for people to say that he's better than anyone to come out of the Performance Center,
yeah, it's probably just trying to make WWE look bad.
I'm sure, but like, bro, come on.
I've seen some people also say that he was going to be better than Taz, which Taz was good in the ring,
but Taz was
Taz was technical in the ring.
Right.
Taz was very technical in the ring,
right.
and Hook was very technical in his match. I love Taz. Like Taz is to me. I think Taz is one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. I don't think I don't think he's like a 5-star classic. I don't think he's a Shawn Michaels or AJ Styles, but what he was good at, he was very good at, and he didn't focus on anything else.
I think if he would have been if ECW hadn't collapsed when they did, he would have been the biggest beneficiary of that company.
Yeah.
Because they had already built the company around him anyway.
Right.
But he left, and then ECW closed shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't,
I think
because he was so unique.
He was RVD though. RVD had
RVD too.
I think RVD was such a relatable guy that I think he was going to be the top person out of ECW. Obviously, Taz was definitely up there because when he made his returns in ECW and WWE, it was massive pops.
Sure.
He's one of the best. No, I'm not going to say of all time, but he's definitely like top 20 promos of all time. Taz has to be up
no
there.
Doubt.
Because he's still really good. Like commentary, he struggles, but when he cuts a promo, like he cut a promo a couple months ago on CM Punk, that was amazing. Like one of the best promos I'd heard that year. And so I think Taz was very underrated, but I think there's so much upside with Hook. I'm not going to say that he is going to be better than his dad. I'm just saying that there is a lot of potential with Hook because we haven't really heard him cut a promo or anything yet. We haven't really seen him do a whole lot. But I think this was a very, very positive step in the right direction for him.
I agree with that. I agree. Well, and only time will tell. I'm not calling Hook out, and I'm not saying that it was bad. I'm just saying like that was a bold statement.
Too soon to say that.
Yeah, for sure.
And if somebody would have said that after Charlotte's first match, we would have said that's too soon to say that too. So
Absolutely.
like there's a timetable that you kind of have to wait on.
Absolutely. So for sure. All right. If you are just now checking us out, welcome to the PipeBomb Wrestling Podcast, a show that is for the fans, by the fans. We are coming to you every Monday and Wednesday with brand new content wherever you find your podcast and on SportsWire Radio. It's available at sportnarium.com/player. Also, you can check out our smiling faces on the bodyslam.net YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notifications bell. I am your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting, Chris Belcher. With me, as always, is the Young Buck, the Indie Darling, Andy York. We went that whole segment without talking about the Young Bucks. I appreciate that.
They had a great match on
it was
AEW.
terrible.
It was not terrible. It was not terrible. Are you kidding me? The spot where they faked out the suicide dive, slid into the ring, gave Adam Cole the kisses on the cheek. They're the best tag team in the world.
I fast forward to the match.
Best. Are you serious?
Yes, I did.
Oh man,
I legit fast forward to the match.
Best tag team in the
legit. No, Lucha Brothers. No,
I think they're better than Lucha Brothers.
No way. That's a debate for another time.
Apparently, RK Bro is the best tag team in WWE, but
stop it. They did,
even that poll. I was like, they're a good tag team.
They did not win the match to determine they were the best tag team.
They won the poll though.
They won the poll, but
which I don't believe the poll necessarily.
Regardless, all right, WWE it is. Let's start off with the bad. This past week, we don't cover NXT very much, but this past week, can't believe we didn't even acknowledge it really last week. This Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly, they're gone.
Yep.
So, I guess we recorded before all that happened. So that's why we didn't know. We talked about it a little bit, but we recorded before all that happened. Gargano and O'Reilly both seemingly gone.
Yep.
Johnny cut his promo about, going to be a dad, which I can see, I think I don't think he pops up before Candace has the baby. I think he's donezo until then.
Yeah. Which I think she's due in February.
I think he said February or March, something like that. Yep. So I think he's donezo until then, especially because it's Christmas and, all that kind of stuff. So I think he's done until then. He'll definitely pop up right after that. If it's AEW, great. If it's WWE, great. Whatever.
Yep.
Very sad to see him go, though. Kyle O'Reilly, presumably, I'm sure, headed to AEW. I would think.
He's followed Adam Cole everywhere he's gone, which is not a bad thing because they produce.
They're best friends.
They're best friends, and like in Ring of Honor, they produce some of the best stuff. And NXT, while their feud wasn't the best, when they were together, they provided the best faction since the Shield. Like in all honesty,
absolutely,
the greatest faction of NXT history. And so I think him going to AEW. I think him going to AEW is a no brainer. Johnny, I still think Johnny's a 50-50 of whether he actually goes to AEW or somewhere else, or if he goes back to NXT. I think it is definitely a 50-50. I think him just opening up his Pro Wrestling Tees, I think was just a way for him to kind of make money during this time in Twitch during this time, and then who knows where he'll go from there.
I agree. Yep, I totally agree with that. Another guy that is now gone, recent news as of just the other day, is Jeff Hardy. Yep. And we don't want to speculate too much because clearly the whole story is not out. Clearly the whole story will probably never get out.
Yeah.
As to what exactly happened, whether you believe the reports online that WWE is just trying to ignore it. I mean, they didn't say anything, but they generally don't when they release somebody.
Yeah.
On TV at least. It's just all really weird because there's reports that WWE offered rehab and Jeff declined it, and then Matt Hardy was quick to say he's fine. You don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy's wife tweeting out, no, he's fine. So what gives, man?
I don't know, because I don't want to speculate on anything, and throw anything out there. If it was off of like the initial reports, because if you watch the video back from the house show, there was something off.
Sure, there was.
You could very quickly tell there was something off. And so I just hope the best for him. I don't really care what company, because that's not what's really important right now. His health and safety and everything is more important. And he's had his demons in the past. He's been very upfront about those.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen the Stone Cold or the Broken Skull session with Jeff Hardy. But he said the drugs are easy to get by without. The alcohol is hard because it's everywhere.
Yep.
And so I think, and I'm not speculating that was the problem. We just know from his past and everything, but just thoughts to him, and hope everything goes smoothly. I hope first off his safety is number one, and his mental health and everything. Just hoping nothing but the best for him. He's one of the most beloved wrestlers of all time. He 100%. might be the most beloved wrestler of all time in a lot of ways.
He is definitely top 10, maybe top 5 most popular wrestler of all time.
Yeah, because everywhere he's gone, he's gotten love. Every up and down he's gone through, people have still always been supportive and love for him. When Raw was in Nashville and he was there, biggest pop of the night, bigger than Becky, which is very shocking, very surprising. Yep. But yeah, this is just, who knows what's going to happen. Like you said, maybe the whole story comes out, maybe it doesn't. I don't really think we need to know the whole story. We just need to know that he's fine and he's okay and he's going to move on with his life.
Yep. I definitely agree. All right. Smackdown from this Friday night. Brock Lesnar in overalls.
Loved it.
It's great.
Great. I love so Farm good. Brock. Farm Brock is because we know that's all he cares about is hunting and farming.
Why not bring it to the ring, right?
This is his gimmick. I'm not saying go hunting in the ring. I mean, kind of does, but
hunting and fighting.
His segment with Sami Zayn is, I never knew I needed a Sami Zayn, Brock Lesnar segments before, but they're amazing.
2 in a row.
They're amazing. When he told Sami he was going to take him fishing and hunting and everything else, I lost it. Like it's just so funny. And it seems like Brock is having so much fun with this. And I love every second of it.
I think it's great. I'm like you. I never knew I wanted not just a Brock Sammy segment, but a Brock Lesnar babyface segment in 2021.
Without Paul. Well, Paul Heyman was there, but Paul Heyman didn't do the talking.
Right. Yeah. Without Paul Heyman being in the mouth, I never knew I needed that in my life.
And I think the seeds of this kind of got planted when he had the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
He had so much fun with that. And like the boom box and everything else was, anybody else other than probably R-Truth would have been stupid. Brock, it was amazing. It was absolutely
because
amazing.
It's so off the wall, and it's just not Brock.
It is.
So we're teasing the whole advocate, is he not kind of thing. We're going to get a lot of that up into day one. We speculated before we hit record that do you think it's 100% that Roman Reigns is going to beat him at day one?
I think it's like 97%.
I'm going to lean more towards like 87%.
Yeah.
77% maybe. I don't know. I just think there's a chance. I think there's a story you could tell of here's why I say that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at some point, and I think I said this last week, I think Brock has to win at some point. And I don't think that point is WrestleMania. So you find a way to do it before then. I'm not saying the story's not going to be interesting. I just feel like that. I don't know.
My only thing is, I think it really hurts Roman's reign. Didn't even mean like that. But I really think it hurts his reign if he loses it before WrestleMania.
Sure it does.
And like before this, because I think they're really going to tell this story of him being a champ for like 2 years, or like 3 years, or like however long it's going to be. At least until next WrestleMania. I think he's going to be Universal Champion, barring injury or other circumstances or anything.
Oh, I just think he wins it back at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think that time period though, I think they want to say he has not lost to anybody. He has not lost the gold since SummerSlam 2020.
Yeah.
And I think that's the story that they want to tell. Honestly, I could see Brock losing this match, maybe interference from Sami Zayn because they're going to tell this story.
Oh yeah.
And then Sami Zayn maybe number 30 in the Royal Rumble. Brock comes out and destroys him, takes the spot, wins the Rumble. I could see that happening, but I don't think. I think it's a 97% chance that Roman wins. I think it's like a 40% chance Roman wins clean.
Okay, I'll go with that. Another thing with SmackDown I have to bring up is I've been very much on board with this King Woods gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like his new crown. I think it looks dumb. It's like it's way out here, and it
fits him though. Like,
but it's dumb.
It fits Xavier Woods.
Why did you have to ruin the gimmick that I liked?
I think it fits Xavier Woods though because he is so outlandish and like everything is big to him, and I don't know. I enjoyed it. Which, by the way, when Roman put the crown on, Roman in a crown was
amazing. That was great.
Like, Roman needs a crown for some reason. I don't know why, but it worked so well.
It was great.
But yeah, I'm all for the King Woods gimmick, as long as it ends up somewhere doing something. And I don't know if it's going to do that or not.
I don't either. I really don't either. All right, Monday Night Raw from this past week. Bobby Lashley runs through Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Big E to get into the day one WWE Championship match. How do you feel about that?
It's kind of a disclaimer at the top of Monday Night Raw. I absolutely hated Raw this week.
Okay.
I can't really pick out one thing that like was great for me, to be honest. Because my thing is like, I think you could have found a better way to do the Bobby Lashley thing, or let him just run a gauntlet, because that was not necessarily a gauntlet match. That was just 3 matches in a night. Like, if you want him to look strong, which I kind of get why, but also like he was one of the most dominant champions of the last decade, so I don't know why you kind of have to make him look strong. I think you could have let him run through all 3, run through 2 of the 3, and still find a way into the match. I think is would be fine. I just didn't like. The only thing that didn't bother me was Kevin Owens tapping out before the Hurt Lock got applied fully, because that's a smart thing. Like, he's going to beat me. I'm not getting out of this. Let me tap before he does any more damage to me or anything. The Seth Rollins finish, I really hated. The Big E finish, I despised. I hated the way it went off, because to me, I get why you don't want to make Big E look weak. I don't think the WWE champion needs to get pinned on Monday Night Raw.
I agree.
I think that's a big, like, that's kind of a thing that they've done really well with Roman. We haven't seen Roman take a pin
since he's been champion.
Since he's been champion, and we didn't see him take a pin before that until like 2019, probably.
That's true.
Yep. And so that's why he feels so dominant. Kenny Omega, I can't really remember him losing or getting pinned. He may have lost the match, but he's not the one that got pinned
on
AEW or anything. So I don't think you need to pin Big E. MVP, it was a terrible camera angle on it. It looked like the weakest stiff shot to the knee.
It did. You're right.
And I don't know. I feel like it just didn't do a lot for me. The Seth Rollins one spear really kind of threw everything off for me, because now, to me, all 3 of them look really weak.
Yep.
And I think all 3 guys look really weak. Bobby looks strong, which is great, but I think you could have found a way to keep all 4 guys strong, or just add Bobby to the match. Like, just add him to the match, and that's fine.
I agree. I wrote that down in my notes. I think that all three of them look bad because of this. And again, you said it. Bobby Lashley was a dominant champion. He's had a fantastic 2021. There's nobody's going to take that away from you. But like you said, because of that, you didn't have. I mean, okay, beating all three of them does establish him again as a championship contender. Okay, but what took it away from him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Goldberg spearing him off of a stage in Saudi Arabia. Are you telling me that took it away from him?
No.
You know?
Because, like, even that, like, he came back last week and laid out, if you didn't do it during a commercial break and you did it, like, on live TV and he laid all three guys out, right in that moment, he is strong enough. He gains everything back. And you add him right into the match. And you can have Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins complain about it. And, you know, now they have, like, now Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins, I don't think, has had a one-on-one championship match in a long time.
That's true.
And so I think if you add Seth Rollins, like, now Seth Rollins has a reason to go after Big E at Rumble. We got the Royal Rumble. Maybe Kevin Owens has a reason to go after Big E at the Rumble now. So, like, I think you can kind of tell this story, adding him to the match, and then it progresses as you go along, now without making three of the four look really, really, really weak.
Yep. I agree. And I think your point, pinning the champion on Monday Night Raw, I think that's, you know, I get that anybody can get beat anytime, anywhere, whatever, but like you have to, it's the same issue that I have, not just your world champion, but it's the same issue that I have with these championship contender matches or what have you. It's the same issue I have, like your champion. If your champion gets pinned, that title needs to switch.
Yeah. And that's the biggest issue with the women's tag team championships. Like, up until now, if you got the belt, you started losing on TV. Made no sense. Damian Priest has been booked almost perfectly as the U.S. champion because he has not been pinned. And he lost the match on Monday. He didn't get pinned, though. And that was the biggest thing. And so I think that's kind of the issue, is seeing the champion get pinned on TV takes away the mystique. And I think there are times for it. Like, if there's an underdog champion who gets pinned, now he goes into the championship match feeling not necessarily as even more, like he feels even more as an underdog, gets the big win. Okay, that's the big heroic moment. But someone like Big E, I don't feel like needs to be the underdog champion.
Like, the stipulation should have been, if Bobby Lashley beats all three of you, he's now the champion.
Yeah.
Like, there's no need for, okay, now you're in the match. Well, now we know he's not going to win.
Yeah. And like, you can't do a fatal 4-way on Raw because that gives the pay-per-view away.
Sure.
And like, you don't want to do like a triple threat because that gives basically 3/4 of the match away.
Right.
But you could have found a way to do this. Maybe you have Bobby Lashley go through a gauntlet match, go through 5 guys that are not in the match, but like he goes through Otis. He goes through Finn Balor. He goes through I'm trying to think who else is on Raw. Austin Theory or AJ Styles or Randy Orton. Like, he could go through 5 guys and be added to that match, and now he looks dominant, and all 3 guys are fine. Like, everybody else is fine.
Or you could even make MVP be in a match and win the way in for Bobby.
Yeah.
You know,
or bring back Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. Like, have them do something. Or just add him to the match. Like, you've already added Kevin Owens out of nowhere for kind of no reason.
Like you said earlier, if you would have done the attack last week on television rather than on commercial, all you had to do was add him in at that very moment.
Say Adam Pearce comes out, or Big E says add him too. Like, if you want to make Big E be like a fighting champion, just say
go to Adam Pearce and say add him in.
Add him in. Yep. And add anyone else who wants to come in. Like, you can make him look so much stronger in that situation.
Yep. I absolutely agree. Another thing we have to talk about before we get ready to sign off here is the little girl, the Becky Lynch fan behind Liv Morgan.
That was the only redeemable thing on Raw for me.
Listen, I was watching it live. I watched Raw live for the first time last night, and I can't remember how long.
Yeah.
So kudos to that. But I was watching it live. And as I'm sitting there watching it, and Stephanie is grading papers sitting beside of me. And she generally watches when Becky Lynch is on because she has this love-hate thing for Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
My wife is not a wrestling fan, but
she's amazing to watch wrestling with, though. By the way.
That is true. That is very true.
We need to do, by side note real quick, we need to do like a live stream one time and just have a camera on Stephanie the entire time.
That would be great.
And just let her commentate what's going on. I think that would be Talk about views going up. That'd be
so
great.
Good. Anyway, so we're sitting there watching it, and she is sitting there with me. She's not paying attention to this. She's grading papers, but I say this to her in real time. Liv's cutting her promo, and I see this little girl over her shoulder, and I just start busting out laughing. And Stephanie goes, "What is it?" I said, "That's going to be a meme in the next 10 seconds."
Yeah.
I said, "That right there."
Yep.
And she's like, "What?" And I said, "That girl right there." And obviously she didn't get it because she hasn't seen Ms. Girl or she hasn't seen the Liv Morgan girl from last week or whatever. But immediately in that moment, I'm like, this is amazing.
I saw one that said WrestleMania 44 main event, Angry Liv Girl versus Angry Becky Girl.
You got to put Angry Ms. Girl at triple threat. Just because it's like, it's fun. But yeah, that was hilarious.
That was amazing. That was the best part of Raw.
That
was the best.
And
part
you
of
notice how they tried to shoot around it.
Yeah,
they had Liv move. They have Liv move up and try to tighten the angle. No. Oh, it was great.
That girl knew how to get on camera and how to stay on camera.
She did it.
It was great. It was perfect.
It was so good.
Which, by the way, kudos to WWE production for that last week because they got the right girl. Because I hate when they cut to fan reaction most of the time, like right after a match or whatever. That was the perfect time because you got her Raw reaction and then her dad laughing at her reaction.
Right.
And it was just it was a perfect storm.
Sometimes they get them, like WrestleMania 30 when Taker lost. I mean, that dude.
Yeah,
I mean, that dude is infamous now.
He is.
That. Ms. Girl is now infamous. Yep. So, kudos to
the guy that cried when CM Punk came out at Rampage.
Aubrey Edwards crying when Daniel Bryan retired.
Yeah. And there was a picture. There was even a picture of, I think it was a Daniel Bryan match on Raw that Liv Morgan was in the front row for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that circled the internet for before the championship match last week. So yeah,
that's amazing. All right, before we sign off, we always have to hands out our high spots and turd sandwiches, highs and lows of the wrestling business from this week. Andy, I will let you start with your turd sandwich, and you cannot say all of Monday Night Raw.
Fine, that's fine. I figured that would be a stipulation. I'm going to say. You know how you like to talk about most of your turd sandwiches are the booking of so and so, the booking of Rhea Ripley. They have made her the weakest woman in a long she went from being a main event level talent to not even mid card women's talent right now. Losing 45 seconds, I get it. There was distractions everywhere else. Rhea Ripley should never lose in 45 seconds. Never. Bianca Belair should have not lost in 30 seconds, even to Becky Lynch, because we talked about that. It hasn't done a whole lot of damage. No, it hasn't. She hasn't had a whole lot of damage because of it. But Rhea losing to Zelina in 45 seconds, and the way she lost and everything, it made her look so bad.
If you were going to establish Zelina as a top contender for the women's title, I think that's the only way you could get away with it. But you're not. But you're not going to do that.
No, and Rhea Ripley should be up there contending against Becky right now.
Absolutely, she should.
She needs to, and I say this in the most loving way possible, she needs to murder Nikki on TV, turn heel, get away from her, and go after Becky.
I agree.
Or go after Liv.
I 100% agree.
Or Bianca.
Our turd sandwiches are very much in line this week because my turd sandwich is the booking of Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw.
That was my second choice, actually.
I'm okay with the Dirty Dogs winning because they need to be a formidable tag team. Both of them are excellent singles wrestlers or an excellent tag team. I am probably in the minority when I say I am 100% behind them.
No, I am too.
I love their tag team.
Yep.
And whatever they're doing with Austin Theory, jury's still out. I'm not going to place judgment just yet.
Sidebar. They need to put subtitles on Vince McMahon because I don't understand half of anything.
I completely agree.
And the pencil thing, I get it. I kind of get the pencil because Bully Ray talks about the pencil, the power of the pencil, and everything. Blah, blah, blah. But I didn't know what he was saying. I had no idea what he was saying. So I don't know.
You had to read between the lines.
He talks like this, and I don't understand. Anyways, go ahead.
Vince does need subtitles. Anyway, I'm not sure where we are with Austin Theory, so I'm not going to place blame on him,
right,
or the Dirty Dogs,
right.
I'm going to place blame on the booking of Finn Balor since he's been on Monday Night Raw.
Yep,
because he had a great run in NXT. You're going to bring him to SmackDown, and he's not going to be a heel right away. Okay, let's see what you do. Oh, you're going to put him against Roman Reigns. Fantastic. That's great. Move him over to Monday Night Raw. Nothing.
That's the first time he's been on Raw, isn't it? Since the draft.
No, he was on there last week, too.
Was he?
He was in the fatal or the ladder match that Seth won.
That's right. Yeah.
He was there.
See, that shows how good the booking is.
Right. He may have been his first appearance.
Probably.
I don't remember exactly where that fell in line, but yeah, I think it's been brutal. I think you need to. I know you've got a lot of heels running around on Monday Night Raw right now, but you got to do something with it.
He's the kind of guy. I don't know when his contract's up. He's the kind of guy that I think is like Kevin Owens and like Johnny and like Kyle, 1 foot out the door.
Yep, I agree with that.
Because Finn Balor's the kind of guy. Prince Devitt go into AEW, go back to New Japan.
Go to Japan.
I mean, him in Japan is some of the best stuff.
Yep.
And his first NXT run, I think, is just below Adam Cole. Like, I really think his first NXT run was almost basically flawless. And so have him going back to New Japan and maybe AEW and maybe some of these other places, I think would be great for him.
Yep.
But he's one of those guys that if you're WWE, you cannot get rid. Like, you cannot lose him. You cannot lose him.
I agree with that. High spot of the week. Your best thing, maybe not necessarily the best thing, but highlight of this week in wrestling.
I'm going to give 2.
Okay.
One from WWE, one from AEW. Kind of spreading the love. Anything Brock does right now, I think is the high spot for me. It's absolutely amazing. And then I have to put Hook's debut in there just because there was a lot of hype around it, especially since the CM Punk thing where he said send Hook, and everybody bit on that. And then from his entrance music, which is amazing, to his attire, to the way he came into the ring, everything, it was one of the best new guy debuts that I can remember in a long time. It was really good.
I'll give you that. I'm gonna go with the triple threat tag match on SmackDown. RK Bro, the Usos, and the New Day. I wouldn't necessarily have booked New Day to win the match, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
But I think the match was incredible. This is clearly the 3 best tag teams in WWE, and they showed why. I thought it was a great main event. Not something that we see very often.
Yep.
So a fantastic TV main event. I give SmackDown an A+ for that.
Yep. And it kind of, maybe it'll show Vince McMahon that if you take tag team wrestling seriously, it can be some of the best wrestling
absolutely
out of anything. So.
I mean, I feel like they think that the only formula for good tag team wrestling is to continue to put the New Day and the Usos together,
which kind of is.
That's true. I'm not going to argue with it.
Right.
It just.
But you can make, because you were talking about the Dirty Dogs, you can make the Dirty Dogs a really great tag team if you took them seriously. And you put them in a high profile feud where they actually did something, and I think that would be, Alpha Academy could be a really good tag team if they did them right.
Booked horrible. I'd still hate the turn of Otis and all that other stupid. Anyway, that is another conversation for another time. Before we sign off, make sure that you all are taking down our social media handle at PBW Podcast. Andy is at Andy_PBWP. I am at Chris Belcher 24. Make sure you buy a t-shirt from us at ProWrestlingTees.com/PBW Podcast. Make sure you follow along every Monday and Wednesday. Brand new content on SportsWire, on bodyslam.net's YouTube channel, and of course, wherever you find your podcast. That's where we are going to be. Maybe a little bonus content this week for Winter is Coming as we're on our way out.
A little bonus content on the Shandy Show. Kind of cheap plug here.
Okay.
With the new Spider-Man movie coming out on Thursday, which I'm not going to spoil when it comes out because that's a jerk move to do. Terrible. Don't do that. But yeah, we're going to have a little episode drop kind of covering that and talking about, rebranding the podcast with maybe a married couple, Mr. and Mrs. Flair to it, reviewing Marvel things like that. So we'll it's a little tease, so go check it out.
There you go. All right. So make sure y'all check that out. Throw Andy some love over there on the Shandy Show. But winter is coming as we're on our way out. Does Bray Wyatt show up?
I didn't even think about that. That would be, who would he go after? Sting.
Yeah.
Sting. Or Darby Allin.
Both.
That would be great. Honestly, a Darby Allin Bray Wyatt feud would be the most dark thing in the world, and it'd be great.
It would be the most off the wall, crazy, like I can't follow this.
Yeah. Which I didn't mention this. Best entrance right now in WWE goes Xia Li. because that entrance she had on
that
SmackDown
was fantastic.
But yeah,
dude, that
made me
that was so good.
Yep.
So
Bray Wyatt, I could definitely see Bray Wyatt showing up.
Bray Wyatt and AEW winter is coming. We'll see. All right, y'all. That will do it for another episode of the PipeBomb Wrestling Podcast. He's Andy. My name's Chris. Thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you guys down the road.